Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira, the ultimate showdown we've been waiting for so long. Two kickboxing fights, one knockout, one close decision, but now we head on over to the mixed martial arts octagon. The cage is going to be a little bit different, still highly anticipated. Frankie Edgar, retirement bout, MSG. We got a lot going on. UFC 281, folks. And breaking it down with me, as always, is the New Mexico native, the man with the new camera, the Santa Fe bomber himself, brother. How you feeling, big dog?
Woo, Derick, I'm feeling well, brother. You know why I'm feeling even better? One, because of the new camera. I'm still here trying to get them some things set up, figure it out. Not really that tech savvy, but your boy's looking up some YouTube videos.
That's right.
But what I am excited about, folks, look at that number right there. High score going into a big fight card, man. Massive fight card. You know, Derick, you know it's a huge fight card when Meatball Molly McCann's on the prelims, brother. It's going to be absolutely wild. I'm excited to break it down with you, brother. How you feeling?
Well, the new star, Meatball Molly McCann, also not on the card with Patty, the baddie Pimblett. A little interesting. Maybe she got her own star power. I don't know, maybe. But I just wanted, before I get into anything else, I'm glad that you mentioned that. It's 0-0 in my head, right? 129.76 a pop for me and my man AJ both. And don't forget, folks, what we're fighting for. This shiny thing right here. I'm not even going to show it off too much. All I want you to focus on is 2022 Undisputed Champion. I'm the 21 champ. There is no champ in 2022. The champ is vacant, right? This was like the lightweight division when Charles got stripped. But you know what I'm saying? The champion has a name. It is yet to be decided yet, but the champion does have a name. We will find out who it is. All right, folks, let's not mince any more words. If you haven't subscribed yet, I don't know what you're waiting for, but you should definitely do that ASAP, immediately, because we're giving you the best product that you could possibly find. Two grassroots individuals. One man from California, one man from New Mexico, one man in Vegas, one man in good old Austin, Texas. We're here to give it to you, and I don't even want to mince any more words, brother. I want to jump straight into a not a proper recap or anything like that, but I want to jump straight into our main card, man. Before we do that, real quick, AJ, I just wanted to be clear I was on the up and up here. All right, I am on the up and up now. All right, my man, do you got anything to say before we jump into this? Because we're going to get into it nitty gritty, my man. What are we talking?
No, that's it, Derick. I like what you're saying before, brother. All I think you're trying to break down is we're a worldly sports show right here, brother, and we're ready to break it down. This is a big fight card, man. Let's get to it.
Let's get it, brother.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
All right, my man. Well, we got a lot to talk about, and let's jump into this first bout. All right, this is the moment that we've been waiting for, Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira. If you talk to any casual person down out there on the street, at your local gym, at the sports bar, it doesn't matter. You got a lot of people who are sitting here saying Alex Pereira is going to knock Adesanya out, left hook Larry, get it done. But AJ, I beg to differ. I think we've seen this fight many a time. I think we saw this fight with Yoel Romero. I think we saw this fight with Robert Whittaker. I think we saw this fight over and over and over again, but for some reason, because they have a history, because Adesanya was winning a fight, then got knocked out by Pereira, a lot of people think this is the kryptonite. What do you think?
Ooh, I think it's hard to shake off a knockout, especially hard to shake off a knockout when you were winning the fight right there, man. Go back to old school bully days. You always remember that one kid that got one on you. And now, it's a chance to get it back. And I don't know, Derick. I mean, this is a big one, because does the mental game of Izzy play? Because as far as we've seen any other fight of Israel Adesanya, it'd be absolutely blasphemous to say that his mental game is going to be coming into question in a fight, man. This guy's the mental warfare. This guy's the king, man. This guy has all the games locked down, but for some reason the narrative is somebody has your number. I don't necessarily believe it, man. What about you?
Yeah, no, I don't believe in it. I just think when we're talking about mixed martial arts, we're talking about a completely different skill set, a completely different sport. But the biggest thing that I need to take away from here, if anything, is look at the people that Israel Adesanya has fought. I think that it's not even, honestly, it doesn't make sense, AJ. I want you to tell me right now, it doesn't even make sense to run through the history of an Israel Adesanya, given this man has dominated the division, 6 title defenses in a fucking row, man. Yeah, you have to play it safe a little bit, but I think this begs a better question, because I already said with your face expressions right there, the question is easily, no, we don't need to run through that. We already know what Israel Adesanya is capable of. This is the question here. If you're a challenger, is it not your job to walk forward, to initiate, to take the belt from the champion, right? Given that's the case, what initiative is there for an Israel Adesanya to say, I'm going to walk forward and I'm going to knock you? Like, there's no point. You are the champion. Come take what's mine if you can. And I just don't think that Alex Paeta has a well-rounded enough skill set to be able to do that to Israel Adesanya. Do you rebut that? Do you or rebut that, rebut whatever? Do you push back? Do you think that I'm overlooking an Alex Paeta? Or do you think that he is truly here because of the backstory?
No, I think he's truly here because the backstory, Derek, I agree with you in the sense of Izzy's done this so many different times in which he's not really going to be, out of his element. Now, has Izzy fought the striker that has the acumen and the kind of, like I said, the history that Alex Paeta presents? It's to be debated. I would say, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that strike really, really well. It's just when you're staring down that one man across the cage, the heart starts pumping, things start going, man. And that's kind of the only chink I kind of feel is in the Israel Adesanya armor, because other than that, man, we've seen him stand up and knock down the best of who he has to offer and absolutely tore through a division. And it kind of feels like I'm thinking what I'm hoping, Derek, is revisionist history comes around Sunday morning when we're recording and we're all saying, yep, it was just a narrative. It was just a narrative. Everybody's talking. The UFC was talking a big game. We can't believe the narratives that we have been believing for the longest time, but it's time for fight night, man. That's what I'm excited to see. I think you were talking about, Derek, a well-rounded skill set that Israel Adesanya presents. Do you think he's just going to fuck around and shoot one time just to mess around, or is this going to be a standing-only kickboxing match? Come and take what's mine if you can.
Well, I'm going to present it this way, and I hate to answer a question with a question, but I'm just going to present it like this, because at the end of the day, Israel Adesanya fighting an Alex Paeta, kickboxer versus kickboxer, they're both phenomenal kickboxers, right? But it's like people are forgetting, Israel Adesanya is a phenomenal kickboxer. So I'm not going to say it equalizes itself out because it's both interesting challenges, but at the end of the day, let's take a comparison. Israel Adesanya versus Yoel Romero. This dude could take your absolute head off with one shot, same as Alex Paeta, but what's the other thing you got to worry about if you're Israel? Oh, yeah, this dude's like a national level Cuban wrestler who can just slam me with a double leg into the mat. You don't even have to take that into consideration with an Alex Paeta unless he's really been training with this Glover Teixeira and he learned a couple new things. We haven't seen it before. I doubt that we're going to be seeing it in this fight, especially because why not stick with your bread and butter? You knock people out. That's what you do. You hit them hard. They don't get back up. Just stick to that plan if you're Paeta. That's the goal for me. So in my opinion, I really do look at it like if you're an Adesanya, unless you're drastically hurt and you have to grab onto a leg because or else the fight's going to be over, why shoot? Why not just play your game? Why not do literally the same thing that Adesanya will do in front of a Yoel Romero? And I hate to keep making up this analogy. I just feel like it's such a similar matchup to a degree. Not even similar because, like I said, Pereira doesn't have that wrestling acumen. But stand in front of him, and if he doesn't move, you don't got to move, man. Let the challenger take action. And if it ends up, because this is what I'm predicting right here. We're going to get one of two things. We're going to get a miraculous, stunning, jaw-dropping, movie-esque performance from Israel Adesanya, or we're going to get the same thing that we've just been getting recently, man. And you'll notice there's not the overhype in this one, right? The hype is coming from the narrative. It's not coming from Izzy. So it's like overpromise, underdeliver. You don't even want that. We're going to underpromise, and you're just going to kind of get what you get. I think it's going to be, I'll let the cat out of the bag. I think there's going to be kind of a tensious, like a very tension building, but kind of boring decision because you're going to have to just play the game. And I think that's how it's going to go. Do you see it the same way? Do you think that Alex Paeta can make it more how can he make it more interesting than Yoel Romero? Just answer that.
Yeah, because that's a better question, because I agree with you. I'll answer the question first, Derek. How can Paeta make this interesting? Man, he's really got to put the pedal to the metal, gas all day long, and force Izzy into a dogfight. And I think it's the other way, man. Throw those flying knees, throwing stuff up the middle, cutting off the cage, making this really a 3-round fight. If he plans for a 3-round fight, obviously, and at the same point, I don't think he's going to win a decision anyway. But if he plans for a 3-round fight and tries to get that finish at some point, that's how Paeta wins this one. Another knockout. Solidify that you can you have this dude's number all day long. Mm-hmm. But for me personally, Derek, I agree with you, man. There's been times in history where wrestlers have fought wrestlers and we end up in a striking battle and we end up in a firefight. Yeah. More often than not, though, when we have a striker and a striker, we end up in kind of a boring, like you said, Yoel Romero style fight, or even there's been multiple where we expect two big dudes who are coming in to bang, not especially in this case, kickboxing artists, and we're going to see a very technical decision, unfortunately. But I do agree. I'm going to be on the edge of my seat the entire time, expecting 100%. That knockout to come from Paeta. Whether that's narrative or not, we'll see.
And I think it's tough because I think on one hand, the most exciting part of this fight is if you're a Paeta fan and you're like, oh my God, when's the knockout coming? Oh my God, it came so close. But that's how it is for every fight, you know? And I'm not trying to be dismissive whatsoever, because if Pereira does this, bro, I mean, listen, you are the new star. You are the belle of the ball. However, I really do like that plus 125 Israel Adesanya decision prop. I really, really like that. I'm not going to lie. If you're a big homer and you want to see violence and you're just rooting for a good time, yeah, throw a little cash on that plus 160 per money line, you know what I mean, for the hedge. Or you can go plus 200 for the TKO. Honestly, I'd go plus 160 just because you got more options at the end of the day. But I like the decision for that reason. Do you see Israel Adesanya? Because I do see in a certain world he could get Pereira out of there, but I think it's going to be tough to come by unless he's pretty aggressive. So do you think that there's a scenario out there where he can get the knockout?
Oh yeah, especially if Pereira is going with the all gas method. We kind of go that Paulo Costa route, get him going, burn him out, knock him out. I can easily see it happening. So if you're looking for that, plus 400 TKO, not a bad prop. I'm also personally going with the Israel Adesanya plus 125 decision. But like Derick said, I also agree the if you're going Pereira, go money line plus 160 makes a lot of sense. You have multiple options, and if you're Izzy, you're feeling brave. TKO plus 400 got a little ring to it.
100%. So those are your picks for your main event. We have and still Israel Adesanya, the last style bender. Let's not come on, man. Put some respect on the man's name. Pereira got 7 fights in the UFC. In his MMA career, actually, in total. Come on, man. I'm just saying.
3 in the UFC.
Yeah, 3 in the UFC, 7 total. Come on, brother. You know what I'm saying? And then you made me forget about that Costa fight. That's what I'm saying. That's how deep this man's hit list is. It's just like, oh, yeah, Paulo Costa, no big deal. Yeah, just knocked him out and dry humped him on the way out. All right, brother. Now let's move on to the co-main event. You know what I'm saying? But before you do that, folks, one more friendly reminder before we talk about another championship bout. If you haven't subscribed, be a champion in real life. Subscribe to your favorite fighter's favorite fight show because you already know what time it is. But with that being said, let's move on to the next one. All right, AJ. So this is on one hand, a lot of people think that this isn't going to be a competitive matchup. On another hand, I think this can be a very competitive matchup. It just depends on what version of what fighter we see. You got the Cookie Monster. You got Carla Esparza, 2-time strawweight champion. She was the inaugural champion of the division, and I got to see her over here in Vegas, man. I got, some merch signed by the champ. Let's go, Carla Esparza. With all that being said, we have another champion in Zhang Weili, who looked dangerous, who is honestly, look, it happened at the tail end of the career, but to put Joanna Champion out the way that she did with the spinning back fist, let's just say a lot of people are thinking Weili is going to make easy work of Carla Esparza. If you were Esparza and you're at the press conference and you say, yeah, Weili, she doesn't scare me. She hasn't done anything that I haven't seen before. I think that Esparza could be talking truth. But what do you make of those words? Is this defense mechanism? Is this I'm going to try to make the best run of the championship while I have it? Or do you think she's truly confident in her game?
I mean, truly confident in her game. I do not doubt that Carla Esparza is, but I don't know about you, Derick. I've never seen anybody put out Joanna Champion like Weili Zhang did. So that's kind of like that right there. That technique, the speed. Weili Zhang presents a very difficult problem coming up for Carla Esparza, especially if she has really started working on continued working on that wrestling we've been talking about for the last 3 fights. If I'm not mistaken, it's either 3 or it's 2 fight camps she's now had out of Henry Cejudo's camp. Remind me the name. Fight Ready. Fight Ready. Thank you, Derek. Fight Ready out of Arizona. And she's been grinding, man. Like I said, either 2, 3 fights. I forget which it is. I'm pretty sure it's 3, but don't quote me on it. She's been grinding. She's been working. She's been working that ground game. And if she can come back and literally take the cookies right from the Cookie Monster, put Carla Esparza on her back, man, then I'm just going to be blown away. Because other than that, this is going to be wild. Seeing me personally, I think Esparza is going to be better on the ground. But if Weili can get it done, what do you think, Derek? Are we in for a shock right here?
If Weili can get it done, are we in for a shock?
I mean, if Weili can get it done on the ground. If Weili can out-wrestle Carla Esparza.
Yeah, I'd be shocked because that's literally the bread and butter right there. If you can out-wrestle the Cookie Monster, if you can put her on her back and keep her there, it's just like, what monster are we dealing with here with Zhang Weili? Like, you can knock him out on the feet, you can just out-wrestle him, you can do whatever you need to do. It's going to be scary, but this is the thing that truly scares me. Is this a trap game? A lot of people are really predicting. I talk to people, I'm like, hey, so what do you think Esparza Weili? They're like, oh, Weili's going to knock her out. That's obvious. I'm like, well, is it? Like, Carla Esparza is legit, and yeah, she's coming off of a very lackluster performance where she gained the title, and what a lot of people saw was a terrible fight. But at the end of the day, she did what she needed to do to win a fight, and that's the same thing as the Adesanya example that I was giving. If Carla Esparza just does what she needs to do to nullify the offense of a Weili Zhang and to put her on her back and just hold her there and win rounds and win points, you keep your title. You go home with the gold. But I think Weili is going to be a little too explosive for that to happen. Here's the question. This is the thing that's been replaying in my mind. When Weili fought Rose Namajunas, right? And not the first one where she got head kicked, KO'd, right? But when she fought her the second time, and you just saw a reserved Weili, a Weili where you're like, you could probably be pressing on the gas a little bit more. And then she basically loses the fight more or less on a takedown in the last minute, or like the last minute of the fifth round. More or less, right? This is, I mean, a win is a win is a win. But at the end of the day, do we see that Weili, or is this a new, completely transformed Weili right here?
I'm banking on the new, completely reformed Weili, man, especially after that Joanna fight, and feeling more comfortable with the fight camp, feeling more comfortable with everything that's going on in her life, man. I feel like this is a very scary Weili, and it's what made this pick very, very difficult, man, because I agree with what you were saying on the intro to this one. It's going to be on who shows up better that night. This is one of those fights where I feel like it's the dog of the night is going to win this one. However the chips unfold, man, this is a very scary opponent for Weili. And like I was saying before, if the wrestling can come through, it's going to be a challenge. Now, on the opposite end, can Esparza have enough hand game, have enough head movement, have enough skill on the stand-up to actually get it done against Weili, or is it just going to be blitz game all day? Because Weili, in that blitz game, very, very strong and very hard to stop once she starts getting going. You know, she's that snowball effect kind of fighter. Do you think Carla Esparza can get it done on the hands, or is she just completely wrestling only for this fight?
Best shot is the wrestling, in my opinion. Weili is too explosive, she's a momentum fighter, man, and that's really it. It just gives me the thought process of Jessica Andrade came out to try to bully Weili in their fight and just got completely outbullied. I'm not saying Carla Esparza is faint of frame. She's thick, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, for a 115-pounder, I think Weili she's uber athletic for 115 pounds. I want to see how cardio holds up in rounds 4 and 5. That's what I really want to see. And AJ, I'm just going to make a quick aside before we give our picks. When I saw Carla Esparza in person, obviously I weigh 170 pounds. I'm 6 feet tall. She's 115 pounds. She's tiny, man. Like, you looked at her, I was like, oh shit, like you could fucking manhandle me, but you're so small, right? I would love to see what Weili looks like in person, just because when they sized each other up, I was like, I can't tell. Like, Weili looks a little bit bigger, but they look comparable. Either way, it's going to be a fun fight, but I'm going to have to do something that I don't want to do. Carla Esparza, if you're watching this, I'm a humongous fan. I'm a ginormous fan. But fandom doesn't win me that belt that I'm trying to take home. So I'm going Zhang Weili and new. Give me the TKO. Give me the plus 135 TKO prop. I just want to be clear here. I don't think this is going to be a TKO in the sense of she sparks her, boom, knocked out, right? I think this is going to be she puts it on her and Carla Esparza cannot respond effectively in time and they stop the fight. TKO, not a KO, right? Over and under 4.5 rounds. And I'm actually, I guess I'm rocking with the favorite. I'm rocking with the under right here, man. Give me like a round 3 TKO Weili. How you see it?
Ooh, Derick, I can't fault you, brother. I've been going back and forth for this fight so many different times, man. But I'm sticking true to the prediction I gave you for you good folks last week. I'm rocking with Carla Esparza, and I'm going by decision. I think she's going to put it on the back, literally just sit there, gain points, gain rounds all day long, get up 3-0, maybe put it on the gas, or maybe just put it right back down on the ground. Either way, I'm thinking we're seeing a Carla Esparza decision. I like that plus 500. It's good money. And look, underdog, plus 280, even if you want to put it on the money line right there, plus 280 is a good deal for a Carla Esparza champion all day long. But me, I'm going with that plus 500 decision. It's going to be a fun fight, man. And don't get me wrong, Weili's got me worried on this one, folks. This one is going to be a banger of a fight. Crazy to see that it's this whole card stacked, by the way. But just this one's going to be exciting, even if it is just a hunt fest from Esparza, because then I'll be happy winning all day long.
Absolutely. And listen, those are your 2 championship fights, so we wanted to spend the most time on those going back and forth. Carla Esparza is a dog. Weili is a dog. And whoever's the biggest dog will reign supreme that night. Shout out to that one. Brother, let's move on to the next. How this fight just kind of gets tossed in there, right? Just like, oh, by the way, we'll just throw in Poirier versus Michael Chandler. My Lord. Honestly, people's main event. This is the fight that I've been going back and forth with that's given me the most trouble. Is it going to be Poirier and his fantastic boxing? Is it going to be Michael Chandler and his explosiveness and athleticism and his ability to weather the storm and be durable for 5 rounds? Or 3 rounds, I guess I should really say. Is it going to be a knockout? Is it going to be a decision? All these questions looming in our head, but the real question that I need to ask you right here is, what did you make of Dustin Poirier's pre-fight swagger, I guess you could say. I feel like we normally don't see the man that fired up, but he came out ready to go. This wasn't Dustin versus Conor McGregor, where he's just like, yeah, whatever, I'm about to show this fool, whatever. You have a dude who's not really talking mess, and Michael Chandler wasn't really talking shit. But Dustin Poirier kind of seemed like he really had a chip on his shoulder. Like, he's like, I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna get this dude out of here. Like, what is he mad about? What's going on here?
I don't know if he's mad because I was watching a whole bunch of stuff on it. And they remember, I don't remember if it was one fight card ago or two. It was a couple fight cards ago. They had a back and forth in the audience, man. There was a little bit of talk. They were going back and forth. I think Dustin dismissed Chandler. There's something going on. If you're watching the Embedded series, it was covered very well in there. But I've been watching a lot of stuff and I forget what it is. But it could be that. It could be Dustin just trying to get himself hyped up, which I kind of think, to be honest with you, Derick, I think it's a little bit more of that. I think it's a little bit more of Dustin trying to sell a fight, trying to hype himself up, maybe also trying to play that mental warfare of like talking shit to get the Iron Michael Chandler, get him fired up, because that's when Chandler is at his most dangerous, when this dude is on fire, ready to go, durable. He's been hit a couple times. He is very, very dangerous, especially with the foot on the gas pedal. Maybe Dustin's trying to lure him into that. Do you think it's a little bit of head games here, Derick? Are we in store for just an all-out warfare from the jump? What do you think?
I do think in part it is when a guy who is so nice to you and is complimenting your hot sauce and is like, giving you compliments, you got to find an edge. You got to find a chip on your shoulder. You got to find a way to convince yourself that it's okay to beat this guy up. And I just think that that's kind of what Dustin Poirier is looking for. And it kind of struck me a little bit because I was like, this is slightly, it felt to me uncharacteristic, slightly, right? I was just like, this feels like it's out of the man's character to kind of be like this. Normally, in his Conor run-up, it was 5 rounds for the rest of my life, or whatever the case may be, or 5 minutes or 5 rounds or whatever. It was very coming from like a humble standpoint of like, I'm here to provide for my family, do all that. He got paid by McGregor. Now he's probably just pissed. He's like, I'm just trying to fight, and I'm trying to whoop this dude's ass. Here's my question to you, man. Dustin Poirier is a very dangerous man. Michael Chandler, if he fights the way that he is accustomed to fighting, at least in the UFC, where he's putting entertainment and he's putting star power in front of logic and game plan, I think this is Dustin Poirier's fight to win. If Michael Chandler comes out there and double legs him across the cage the same way that he did to Tony Ferguson, I think this is a completely different fight. But my main question to you is that the over and under on this one is 1.5 rounds. Why do you think that is? Why do you think the odds makers think that this is just going to go immediate, boom, someone's getting knocked out early, and then we're going to call it a day? Because I could see this going multiple different ways, and that doesn't really always reign supreme right there. So what do you think?
Nah, I don't look at the over and unders, man. 1.5 round is kind of mind blowing, and even looking at the odds right here, plus 165 TKO for Dustin Poirier, feels like it should be switched. Feels like those numbers should be the opposite way. I'm a little flabbergasted, Derick. 1.5 rounds. I don't know which way they're banking on this one going. Like, because would you consider Dustin Poirier an absolute knockout fighter all day long? I mean, yes, he can knock you out. Yes, he has the power, 100%. Don't get me wrong. This dude has pop in his absolute, and he's a mean dog. Like, this dude's a dirty, like not a dirty fighter, but like dirty in the good way, kind of a scrapper. How we want you to be. Yeah. But I'd say his technique kind of outshines his pop, if that makes sense. Don't get me wrong, the pop's still there. If I'm doing a poor job, don't get me wrong, Dustin Poirier, you got some crack on you, homie. But I feel like Chandler has a little bit more muscle on him, a little bit more power, and it could translate to more wrestling power, and that's really where it is. And it could be that they're trying to think Michael Chandler is going to be wrestling his way to an early stoppage, and just Dustin has nothing to offer. I don't know. I don't really see it that way. I'm thinking they're leaning more towards a knockout. What about you, Derick? Is it knockout, or are they thinking wrestling here?
I definitely think they're thinking knockout. I don't think there's really any way about it. And if you ask, like, it's almost kind of a disrespectful question to ask. Is Dustin Poirier a knockout artist? 15 knockouts, bro. 28 fights, 6 submissions. Like, he's a finisher. He's a finisher of finishers. Michael Chandler, on the other hand, 11 knockouts, 7 submissions. 23 fights. These men are finishers. So the most logical outcome is someone gets finished, right? When you have two finishers in there. The question is, has the Justin Gaethjes of the world, the Charles Oliveira's of the world, the people who have put Chandler in real deep waters, more Gaethje than Oliveira, have they kind of put Chandler in a position to where now the perspective is he's not durable? I think he's a durable fighter, but I think the perspective can lead to he's going to get, not necessarily chinny where you're going to get knocked out, but Poirier's going to land a couple good cracks on him, and then the game plan's going to go out the window, and then we're going to be fighting ego on ego, right? Because if you're Dustin Poirier, Look at the two McGregor wins. I don't know how much stock you put into those, but Conor is a guy who wants to use the ego, who wants to fight your spirit, your soul. And Poirier held up fantastic. I mean, yeah, you lost to Charles, but you dropped him. You were hurting him. You had him in a bad spot. Beat up Dan Hooker. You beat up Max Holloway. You knocked out Gaethje. You knocked out Eddie Alvarez. You knocked out Anthony Pettis. I mean, come on, bro. Like, I just think that Dustin Poirier how are we still discounting the man at this point? That's the question. Give me what you got there.
I'm with you, Derek. I'm with you, and I'm trying to think of why that's the case for the 1.5 rounds still, man. I'm over here racking my brain, and I like what you're saying. Not so much of the fact that Michael Chandler is going to be chinny because of the previous fights he's been in, but more so the fact that he enjoys being hit. He's okay to take a couple on the chin. Maybe not enjoys being hit, but he's down for the scrap. You know, he's down to get in a brawl. And when he does, he kind of fights his best. So maybe that's where it is, man. But I still think Dustin Poirier in the hands is a far superior fighter here in multiple ways, whether you want it to be a scrap or whether you want it to be a chess match. Dustin Poirier kind of covers the spread amongst them all.
100%. And I'm just going to equate it to this, man. Tony Ferguson, I felt like, as opposed to another fighter like a Justin Gaethje or another fighter, right? When Michael Chandler went in for the double, Tony Ferguson, I'm not going to say that. He was like, oh, yeah, please take me down. But he's more apt to pull guard and to start working jiu-jitsu, right? Michael Chandler, in that same sense, when he starts getting cracked, is more apt to, all right, let's crack. Let's have a war. What we need is a Dustin Poirier who says, okay, let's reset. Let's get back into the shell. Let's start working our technique, right? And that's why I think Dustin Poirier reigns supreme here. The problem is, I feel like the winner of this fight, this is a meaningless fight almost, because both of you guys fought for the title. Both of you guys lost in pretty ridiculous fashion, right? Not in a bad way, but like, you got finished, both of you guys. So what now? You fight again? You gonna fight Islam now? I mean, come on. So I don't think there's much meaning to this. I like Dustin Poirier though, man. I like Dustin Poirier via TKO, not because I'm not a fan of Michael Chandler. I'm a big fan of him, but because I think Michael Chandler is gonna fall in love with the war, and Poirier is going to do what he does best. He's gonna crack, and he's gonna get the dub. So I like that plus 165 TKO, Dustin Poirier. But give me the over, brother. Give me the over. What are we talking about? A round and a half here. Give me the over. How do you see it?
Yeah, man, I was hoping you were going to go the under, Derek, because I'm rocking with you the entire way. Dustin Poirier, TKO, round 2.5, man. I'm taking the over. Nice. Iron Michael Chandler, homie's durable. This is going to be a fun, like you said, people's main event right here, folks. Yeah. Tune in. This is going to be a fight.
100%. And I mean, honestly, we're going to have to talk about it on Monday when the post show comes out, but like, we're going to have to really rack our brains. Where do these fighters go? It almost makes it like less exciting, because I'm just like, I wish there was more. If this was like winner of this guy fights for the title, it'd be like, oh shit. But it's like, oh no, you can't do that. You can. UFC can do whatever they want, but we'll see. All right, brother. Now we got a real legend in the building right here, man. It's Frankie Edgar week, bro. This is MSG week. Like, come on, pay some goddamn respect. All right, all the new fight fans, right? They're probably like, who's this old geezer, Frankie Edgar? We're not trying to watch this guy fight. I'm a fan of El Guapo. I want to see the calf kicks. I want to see some kickboxing. And hey, El Guapo is as game as they come. You saw a little bit of that heat in the press conference, right? So I guess the word is, man, I guess Frankie Edgar and Gutierrez had a run-in. I mean, maybe many years ago. At this point, if you're Frankie Edgar, you're a legend to everybody. Everybody probably looked up to you, grew up watching you. They started fighting because of you. He was like, yeah, I don't even remember whatever this little fucking run-in is or whatever. But like, now we fighting, so what's up? Here's the thing, AJ. Frankie Edgar, pretty much last fight, retirement fight, MSG, home crowd, New York, let's go, East Coast. At this point, the fire that he had in him, I think that's a good sign, bro. I think this is a dude who's saying, listen, there's a lot of different ways to go out. I'm a New Yorker, or whatever. I'm an East Coast cat. I ain't going out the sucker way, bro. Let's get it. And I don't know if Gutierrez is going to be able to reciprocate that same type of energy. What do you think?
I mean, if there's ever a fighter, I think Gutierrez is one of the few that can definitely get it done and reciprocate it. But Frankie Edgar in a dogfight is a different kind of animal, man. We're going to really see the mettle of Gutierrez coming up here, man. El Guapo is going to have to be a little bloody Guapo up here coming in, man, because this is Frankie Edgar in his home territory with all the doubt against him and kind of everybody counting this dude out. They think it's his last. I like where you're noticing that the fact of him being pumped up, them talking a little shit in the face-offs, Frankie Edgar getting a little pumped up, having the crowd also get into it as well, man. It's a good sign going into this one. And honestly, Derek, where I was going with this when I was looking at this fight going the entire time, Frankie Edgar is a veteran in a war, man, and you're gonna really, really have to put this dude out. I mean, a lot of people they remember when he caught that the head kick. Who head kicked him?
Who
Do
had
you remember?
Yeah, I absolutely do remember, man. It was Cheeto Vera.
Cheeto Vera. Everybody, yeah, it was the last one. Thank you. Everybody remembers that last head kick because it was absolutely ridiculous. About a year later, he's coming back. Do you think the year has had him recover fully? And we're going to see just a prime Frankie Edgar, or has time taken its thing? And this is just kind of a send me out with with the best of them, please, Uncle Dana.
Brother, I feel like you setting me up to disrespect my man Frankie Edgar, because there's no other way to answer this. But this man has been fighting professionally since 2005, bro. 17 years in the game. No doubt he has CTE. No doubt that he's a shell of the prime Frankie Edgar, of course. But that doesn't matter. That's not what's going to matter here in this fight. What's going to matter here in this fight, I think, is experience. I think Frankie Edgar, and if you look at the last people he's fought, win or lose, is on a completely different stratosphere than a Chris Gutierrez is. So you could look at this one of two ways. One, they're sending Frankie Edgar out to pasture. If they were, I don't think it would be Gutierrez. Even though Gutierrez is probably the best unranked bantamweight fighter that we have right now, or up there with them, I mean, this isn't the guy that you send out to pasture, right? Let's look at the last fighters. Cheeto Vera, Corey Sandhagen, Pedro Munoz, Korean Zombie, Max Holloway, Cub Swanson, Brian Ortega, Yair Rodriguez, Jeremy Stevens, Jose Aldo, Chad Mendez, Uriah Faber, BJ Penn, Charles Oliveira, Benson Henderson, Gray Maynard. Shall I go on? Like, what the fuck? I just named like the fucking Hall of Fame of UFC right there. Chris Gutierrez. Danaa Bakary. Huge win. Monster KO win right there. I cannot discount that. Felipe Corrales, another good win, split decision. Andre Ewell, Cody Durden, that was a draw. Vince Morales. Heoni Barcelos, he lost. Jimmy Flick. I mean, come on. I think that we're talking, it's and no disrespect, because I'm a big fan of El Guapo here, but it's like talking about, oh yeah, the New York Yankees and like the Oakland A's AAA team. Like it's just, it's like, what are we talking about here? It's two different levels of competition. I think Frankie Edgar, if you're gonna make him a live dog, this is the live dog that I like on this card right here. This is the guy. I just think that Gutierrez, at the end of the day, these are professionals, man. These guys aren't going to go in there emotional, or at least they shouldn't. But I feel like for a Frankie Edgar, man, he's going to put everything that he has out there. He said it himself. He was like, listen, man, all the smoke will be done for me about 11 o'clock at night on Saturday night. But until then, we got something to give you. You feel me? And I'm like, bro, I love the attitude. Let's talk X's and O's. How does Frankie Edgar win this? I don't see him winning this fight any other way but hold this man down for 3 rounds and bank on a decision win and get up out of there. Can he do it? Can Chris Gutierrez avoid the forward pressure of Frankie Edgar the way that he didn't really manage to avoid the forward pressure of a Danaa Bakary, who just didn't take him down in the last fight? What do you think?
I don't think so, Derek. I don't think so. I think Chris Gutierrez is going to be falling in love with those leg kicks, man. Falling in love with the feeling of actually putting people out, and like he did in the last Danaa Bakary fight. But if Frankie Edgar can stick to the game plan, stick to putting him on his butt and keeping him there, holding him down, giving him the veteran, old school noogie style fight right here, I think Frankie Edgar gets it done, man. But if Gutierrez can actually stick around, get on his bike, avoid the takedowns, avoid the shots, get some, actually land some of those leg kicks and really stifle the movement of Frankie Edgar going forward, then we're talking. Then we're in a dogfight. And even then, I still kind of bank on Frankie Edgar in a dogfight in New York, man, because this dude, he is one of the old school gangsters. And I'm a little upset when I looked at those odds and they were plus 180 for Frankie Edgar. Although, folks, that's like Derek said, if there's a live dog right here, it's our boy Edgar, and it's gonna be interesting if he can actually do the movement. I'm glad you avoided the setup question, Derek, because this is an older Frankie Edgar, but I still think this is a dangerous Frankie Edgar coming in here to battle, man. And for all those reasons, like I said, I'm rocking with you too, Derek. I'm rocking decision. I'm going Frankie Edgar. I think he's gonna put him on his butt, hold him there. Old school noogie style fight. That's what we're hoping for over here. And it's either way, I think it's still going to be a fun one to see Frankie Edgar go out in New York City like that as well, man.
Absolutely. And I'm going to give you guys a fair disclosure, AJ, I hope you agree with me here. As logical as we would love to be about this fight, like obviously we want to win, we want to do the right thing. If you're a legitimate MMA fan, you can't not back Frankie Edgar in this fight. Like, come on. Logic does say the young Chris Gutierrez, he should be the guy. He's going to win. Odds makers. You got to back Frankie Edgar. MSG Frankie Edgar, last fight. This is the former lightweight champion. Come on, brother. Enough of that. Shout out Frankie Edgar. Let's get it. All right, man. And now we have another one where you could ask a lot of questions here. Dan Hooker makes his return back to the lightweight division against another stud, another dude who is on the up and coming right here. Claudio Puelles right here. This dude snatches knee bars, man, over and over and over again. He snatches your knee. He pulls guard. He has very interesting takedown entries that he's been getting a lot of criticism by, especially the good old DC, Daniel Cormier, who is, I mean, if you're going to get criticized by somebody in regards to wrestling, I mean, you shouldn't feel bad if it's DC. Like, that's the guy, right? That's like being like, oh, Dan Gable told me that I need to shoot better. And it's like, yeah, that's fucking Dan Gable, competitor supreme, absolutely, you know. But either way, Dan Hooker, kickboxer. City Kickboxing right here. What is it? City Kickboxing. Yeah, CKB. There we go. Versus the Claudio Puelles of the world, who is, I want to say he's repping Peru. I'm not really sure, to be completely honest with you. But at the end of the day, he's a southpaw. He's got nasty grappling. Stand-up, much to be desired. But he can make this fight very interesting. I don't like that Dan Hooker went down to featherweight, even though at lightweight, he's a fucking massive 155er, even more massive 145er. And now when you're fighting Claudio Puelles, the game plan has to be avoid the ground at all costs. The ground is lava unless you can get like on top of him for a split second and then get back up to your feet. Because I think if he tries to wrestle Puelles, you're setting up your demise and your downfall. Puelles is a perfect man who says, not a perfect man, but his whole entire game plan is, oh, you want to come over here? All right, we're setting up some butterflies. I'm going to sweep you. I'm going to put myself in a position where I can invert, grab your leg, and it's over. What do you think, man? I mean, a lot of people are putting a lot of bank on Puelles here, a lot more than I thought, because this is another similar situation. Dan Hooker has fought the guys. Puelles hasn't. So what do you think?
Yeah, Dan Hooker has fought the guys, man. I mean, and Dan Hooker, he's a company man. He's caught a little bit of heat for it. You know, taking a couple fights where I feel like he shouldn't have, and it's kind of derailed his career. He's had the whole weight shift you're talking about. But if you go and look at it, like there's from top to bottom, you want to talk about another fighter who has fought the who's who. This dude has fought in everybody and won some, lost some. So he's one of those not a 50-50 fighter, but getting to that point, and I think this is going to be a good fight for Dan Hooker to really come back and solidify himself as a fighter who he really is. That being said, though, Puelles snatches knees left and right, and Dan Hooker has long, lanky limbs, and I wouldn't say he's the best wrestler or best avoidance of grappling ever. You know what I'm saying? Like there's instances in which Dan Hooker can be put on the back foot and tends to just kind of get lost in the going backwards and not necessarily get out of the way and set up a strike. Now, that being said, this dude, like you said, Derek, fights out of City Kickboxing. So he is going to be prepped. He's going to be, obviously Eugene Behrman, everybody out there has the skill set and the training to be able to get him to perform that way. But when Dan Hooker has been performing, at least as of late, he's been falling a little bit short. Now, that being said, that's against the top of the top. Literally the cream of the crop. The only fights he's lost in his last four, Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, Islam Makhachev, and the new Arnold Allen. And one of the younger fighters that fight's going to age very, very well in time. But his latest win, Nasrat Haqparast, I wouldn't say a cream of the crop fighter, but somebody who Dan Hooker can perform against and is a really, really good striker, has good ground game. Now he gets to test himself up against another up-and-comer who has the kind of the opposite. Do you think we're going to see a kind of a similar fight style where Dan Hooker's controlling the entire fight like he did against Nasrat? Or are we going to see a washing machine style fight right here, Derek? We're going to see a little bit of ground game out of the Hooker camp? What do you think?
No. Not at all. Ground is lava. Stay away from the ground. Control the fight the same way they did against Nasrat. It was an expert game plan, man. When I saw that, I was like, wow, I'm so dumb, because I picked for Nasrat Haqparast in that fight. It was such a weird fight, man. That was like you have to do burpees on the plane to cut weight because it was last minute. It was a weird fight. So it's like you can almost throw it out. But at the end of the day, I think Dan Hooker has all the tools on the feet to win this fight. The only question is, can Puelles get the takedown? He made it look easy when he fought Chris Gutierrez, right? He just got easy takedowns. He kind of does this thing, man, where he drops to his knees, grabs onto your leg and kind of crawls forward. And if you know and I'm not trying to be disrespectful whatsoever, even as a jiu-jitsu guy, like even if you're pure jiu-jitsu, it's like, come on, man, y'all got to work your wrestling a little bit more in your jiu-jitsu. At the end of the day, what is jiu-jitsu? It's judo. It's just judo with some other shit mixed into it, right? So it's like, let's have these deep shots onto the single and then start penetrating. Dan Hooker, I just think that he's going to be able to stuff a couple of those shots if they're weak like that. And I think that on the feet, like I said, I think he's far too skillful. That teep kick is nasty. I think he's going to be able to keep Puelles at range because Dan Hooker is 2 inches taller. I think he's got like a 3-inch reach advantage, and he's big. He's just a massive individual, right? Puelles is a tall guy too, but I mean, Hooker is thick, right? So I think that's the game plan. I think this is a pretty cut and dry fight. I just think that if you're a Claudio Puelles, you said it yourself, but I want to list off a couple of the names. Your biggest win to date, Clay Guida. That's your biggest win to date if you're Claudio Puelles. And if you're Dan Hooker, I mean, you have to argue, bro. Yeah, you have a lot of losses to the Arnold Allens, the Makashevs, the, Chandlers, Poiriers, right? But you have wins over Paul Felder, over Al Iaquinta, over Gilbert Burns, Jim Miller, Mark Jacasey, D1 Mark Jacasey, right? You got some good wins, man. And you fought pretty much the best of the best. So I like Dan Hooker here. I get it. A lot of people are mentioning this. He could be the new Cowboy Cerrone, the way that he's fighting. I don't think that we're going to fall into that territory. You're right. Sometimes being a company man costs you. But I like Dan Hooker, and I like him to edge out a very interesting, gritty decision here against a Claudio Puelles, plus 155. But if I'm being honest, folks, that minus 165, I think that would probably be the safest bet right here if you're a Dan Hooker, because we don't know. He's coming off a lot of losses. We don't know. I didn't really like his vibe at the press conference, to be honest with you. He felt a little too relaxed, a little too, But hopefully we see some good stuff. How do you see it?
Yeah, Derek, I'm actually going the opposite, man. I'm going Puelles right here, and I'm going submission. I'm taking that plus 400. I think knees are getting snatched, and I hope it's not too bad for Dan Hooker, man. I hope it's not too bad for the Hangman. But good thing is, man, the UFC has prime healthcare. I'm going Claudio Puelles, submission, round 2.
Are we going for round 2?
Early round 2.
All right, so you're taking the under. The over and under is 2.5 rounds here, so you'd have to go late round 3 if you want the over. All right, man. Well, that's a hell of a fight to kick off the card, and this is just a pretty stacked card, man. So I don't want to mince any words. I want to jump straight into the TLDR, aka the bet recap, aka you just listen, man. You jump straight to it, and you wanted to see the picks. All right, man. We're pretty much in consensus for a lot of these fights. Israel Adesanya, Dustin Poirier, Frankie Edgar. I mean, come on, man. Take those picks and roll to the bank with them. Those are your Bloody Water Podcast consensus picks. But if you're looking for a little bit of action, right, the winner of this week is going to be the new leader on the scoreboard, and we'll see where we go there. I got and new Zhang Weili, my man AJ's rocking with the Cookie Monster, and still Carla Esparza, and lastly, the only other pick, I'm rocking with City Kickboxing 2-2 right here, Adesanya and Hooker. My man AJ, only feeling love for one of the City Kickboxing boys because he's rolling with Claudio Puelles. Folks, if you like the picks, don't be afraid. Drop a like, subscribe. Mainly subscribe. That's what you should do. You should subscribe right now before we get into these sleepers. All right, let's get it, folks.
It's time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
Let's go, man. Let's go. All right, let's take a peek at these sleepers. And I wanted to pull it up this style as opposed to how we normally do it because I want to run through these really quickly. AJ, if you don't mind, I'm going to go first because I'm going to make mine like 30 seconds. Here's your sleeper. Erin Blanchfield, Molly McCann. Is this a sleeper because Molly McCann has 2 knockouts in a row? No, this is a sleeper simply put because this is going to be hype, right? Narrative, excitement, fan, fundum versus a true dark horse and a true killer in the women's flyweight division and somebody who I think will be a title challenger here in these next couple of years. The hype and the fun is Molly McCann, really good, really aggressive, older in her career. Erin Blanchfield, young, dark horse, not too polished on the feet, but her wrestling is fantastic. The question is going to be, can Molly McCann stay on her feet? If she can, she might see a spectacular knockout. If she can't, she might get hugged on the ground for 3 rounds, potentially get her face smashed into the canvas. We will see. This is going to be a really fun sleeper. The implications is what makes it a sleeper, so you should tune in. AJ, which one are you rolling with today?
Folks, definitely tune into that one, man. Anytime Meatball's on the card, I'm standing up. I'm getting excited. It's going to be a fun one. And I got a fun one for a sleeper right here, man. I'm going Mike Trizano versus Sting Woo Choi is the way I like to pronounce it. Sting Woo Choi over here, bro, because this dude is an absolute killer. Right. This is going to be a very fun fight in the featherweight division. There's a big favorite leaning towards Sting Woo Choi, but Mike Trizano is game of the rest of them. The reason I picked this as a sleeper, man, is because this is going to be fireworks from the jump. Mike Trizano is a dog, and Sting Woo Choi has absolute crack in his hands. Dynamite on both sides, man. This one's going to be very fun. This is one of those fights where you're not really expecting things to go down, but if you saw this in a bar, this would be an absolute brawl. That's what I'm expecting for this firefight, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tune into the prelims, folks. I'm not going to tell you. I will tell you again. Tune into the prelim because it's going to be absolutely ridiculous.
That's right. And I'll tell you what, man. Both of these dudes could get a knockout easy. Both of these dudes can underperform or overperform at any given stance, man. Like this is a fun fight right here. And with that being said, quick, short, sweet, concise, to the point, sleepers. You know what time it is. All right, brother. Now, let's talk about a couple of these prelim fights, man. And with these prelims, I just want to run through a couple of them because there's some that have some real big implications. Let's talk about the Dominator. I don't even know if he's the dominator. Dominic Cruz is the dominator. Dominic Reyes, though. Let's talk about him. You know what I mean? What's his nickname? Let's see. I'm going to try to pull it up while I'm talking. Dominic Reyes versus Superman Ryan Spann, bro. This is going to be a very, very fun... Oh, the Devastator. There we go. The Devastator, Dominic Reyes. It's going to be a fun fight. Former title challenger. The big narrative again. Dominic Reyes' whole career at this point is, I think he beat John Jones. But, like, you didn't on paper, so, like, at the end of the day, I mean, shit, man, that happened how many years ago? We can't keep banking on that. What have you done for me recently? You know what I mean? That is the name of the game. What have you done for me now type sport. Ryan Spann's so dangerous. Slick Gilly. That's what everyone's talking about. We jumping Gilly, baby. Let's go. If you put your head anywhere near my hip, your neck is getting snatched. It's as simple as that. You better not shoot on me. So that's the question. Ryan Spann, fantastic grappler, devastating power. Not as technical as Reyes. And I think that's going to be the difference in this fight. Who do you like?
I'm with you, Derek. I see it the same way you are, but I kind of like Spann a little bit more in this one, man. He's a little more reckless, a little more careless, but that's kind of what usually wins a fight. Usually, man, nothing's usual in fight game. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious to see how much Dominic Reyes has really came back, man. Is he the John Jones style fighter, or is he the last couple we've seen lose, couple devastating KOs? We'll see. This is going to be an interesting fight for the Devastator coming back. I like Spann. What about you?
I like Dominic Reyes here, man. Give me the money on Dominic Reyes. And I'm simply going to put it this way. Look at his last three. John Jones, Jan Blachowicz, Yuri Prochazka, 3 champions. Need I say more? Yeah, you got knocked out by 2 of them, arguably beat another one, but you lost a close decision. Need I say more? If you're a Ryan Spann, on the other hand, I mean, it's just a little bit different, bro. I mean, you fought some good fighters, but your real claim to fame is, here, let me pull it up. Your real claim to fame, if you're Ryan Spann, who I'm a huge fan of, don't get me wrong, you got a big win over Sam Alvey. That was a split decision. Oof, you know what I'm saying? You got knocked out by Johnny Walker. You beat Misha Serkinov, got submitted by Anthony Smith, and then you just submitted Iwan Kutalaba. It's a little bit different. I think Dominic Reyes, give me the TKO round 3. I'm going to call that right now. I didn't need to call it, but I'm calling it anyways. I just think over time, as the fight gets longer, Spann is going to be throwing wild, loopy shots. Dominic Reyes still going to be shooting down the pipe. I just think that. All right, man. Let's talk about the steamroller. Matt Frevola, my man, versus Otman Azatar. What's in the bag, AJ? What's in the bag? I need to know what's in the bag. Either way, this is the point, man. Steamroller, walking forward, mean. Otman Azatar. A lot of people forgot about him because Fight Island was how many years ago? But listen, 13-0, you're undefeated, brother. This dude's mean. Knocked out Kamaworthy. I mean, in his last fight, Kamaworthy's no longer... I think he actually retired from MMA. He's no longer even in MMA at all. But it was still a good one because Kamaworthy was a beast. Who you like in this one?
Ooh, man, I like the steamroller in this one. I'm interested to see what Osman Azadar actually brings to the table in his fight game. If I'm not mistaken, he the what's in the bag was the biggest performance he's had. Oh no, I'm sorry, Derek. You just said it. The Kamaworthy. Yeah, he has had some power and he's had some absolute fights. We know I don't really remember his first fight, the Puckaline, but the Kamaworthy KO was a hell of a one, man. I'm still rocking with Frevola on this one, man. Frevola is a gangster. This is a really close fight, or a really good fight to go down. I'm interested to see, man. I don't know. I don't really have a dog in this one. What about you?
I don't have a dog either. I love me some Matt Frevola. I love the steamroller. I just want to see a good fight, so I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't really have a lean. Carolina Kovalevich, man. Talk about a stacked card versus Silvana Gomez-Juarez coming off a nasty knockout. Listen, dude. If Kovalevich can't control this fight and she can't get this fight to the ground and start like controlling, I think Gomez-Juarez can really have some real heat here. People forget, and I'm trying to Liang Na. Or Na Liang, either way how you say it, right? She's a knockout artist, man. She comes out here, she submits people, she knocks people out, like she's a finisher. Gomez-Juarez put her down. It wasn't even. It was nasty. And Karolina Kovalevich, even though she came back, she looked crispy. She looked like she was fresh hands in her last performance when she was fighting up against Felice Herrig, who is a very phenomenal striker. But I just think that she's a little past the prime, man. 37 years old, American top team. Gomez-Juarez is 37 as well, but much less wear on her tires. I like Gomez-Juarez here, but I would not be surprised to see a Kovalevich upset. Or not even an upset, just a win. How do you see it?
Yeah, I like the hands of Gomez-Juarez, but Kovalevich can get some submissions. I mean, she's a very, like you said, experienced fighter going into this. I think a little over past the hill as well. We'll see, man. We will see. I guess Kovacevic only has 3 submissions, so it's not like she is a submission specialist. But Gomez Juarez is more prone to getting tapped out than a knockout. So I think this is going to be a fun fight. I like Gomez Juarez going into this one personally.
Nice. Let's talk about Petroski versus Wellington Turman. All I need to know is who wins, the wrestler or the jiu-jitsu artist?
I'm going with Turman, man. I'm good. Petrovsky. Until Petrovsky proves that he has an endless gas tank in the wrestling game, I'm going with Turman. What about you?
I'm thinking, and I know that I'm rooting against the Glover Teixeira MMA and fitness or whatever. I'm rooting against his camp. This fight card, I'm rolling with his camp against Wellington Turman for Petroski. Man, Petroski's good. Wellington Turman though is the dude who I think is so good. Who we just haven't seen the goodness really come out yet. Except I think he's coming off of a win in his last fight. Let's check. Yeah, he got that win over Misha Serkinov. He submitted him. And he beat Sam Alvey via split decision. It's like Sam Alvey beaten versus split decision. It's almost an honor. All right, man. Last couple ones and we'll get up out of here. Brad Quake Riddell versus Renato Moicano. This could be a main event, man. This could be a co-main event. This could be a main card fight through and through. I'm going to go with the unpopular opinion here, and I'm actually going to back Brad Riddell in this fight, man. I think he can control the pace of this fight. If you look at Renato Moicano, where has his number one struggle been in his fight time and time again? Athletic, just fucking strikers who could just have speed. Like speedy, quick dudes. I think Riddell's going to be able to put it on him, man. Look at what Fiziev did to him. But then again, look at what Fiziev did to Riddell. I don't know. I think Renato Moicano's a madman. Anything can happen in a wild scrap, but I like Riddell. Who do you like?
I like Riddell for all the same reasons, Derek. Like you said, man, speed kills. And Renato Moicano, he has really he's kind of gained this like second, third wind in his MMA career where he's really taken off. But this is going to be a very challenging fight. The only thing that worries me for Brad Riddell, sometimes he underperforms. I think he underperformed a little bit in that Fiziev fight. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like you said, well, look what Fiziev does to everybody. So it's hard to really bank on that one. I like Brad Riddell in this striking match right here. But if Renato Moicano can get some stuff working on the ground, we'll see how well that city kickboxing grappling holds up.
Am I a crazy man to say that Montel Jackson might put on a fantastic career-defining performance against Julio Arce? Am I a crazy man to say that?
No, man. Montel Jackson has all the makings to really show out against a very dangerous Arce, man. Very, very dangerous.
This dude is damn near 6 feet tall, fighting at 135 pounds. He's like the Dan Hooker of that division, except he got mad submissions too. I like Arce. I'm a big fan of Arce. I always have been, man. Montel Jackson is a dangerous man. And then lastly, this is the one where it's like, I don't even have anything to say because literally I have no dog in this game. I don't know how this fight's going to play out. It goes a million different ways every time I think about it. Carlos Ulberg versus Nikolai Negomereanu. I could see Negomereanu just blasting through him and knocking him out. I could see Ulberg just one shot dropping him. I have no dog in this game, but how do you see this fight playing out?
I have no dog in this game either, Derek, man. I think I'd be more excited for the Ulberg knockout, but Negomereanu is just a tenacious fighter in there. So this is going to be a very, very fun one. I can see why this is starting off the prelims. And once again, folks, for the third time, watch the prelims. And for the fourth time, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. It's giving you the best over here in all the things. Betting-wise, you already know. I'll let Derek give you the spiel. But either way, I do like Ulberg in this fight going forward.
Well, listen, man, I like him too. And I'll say, I don't even need to say nothing because my man AJ just put it off. First off, folks, you should subscribe if you love my man AJ's new camera. Come on, bro. We talking high quality, high definition up in here. Listen, we evolve, we grow. We're your favorite fighter's favorite fight show, so we got to be doing something right. But if you haven't subscribed yet, it goes to show. How much do you know, man? Come on, the real recognize real. I'm just going to say this, folks. A lot is on the line this week, not only just in mixed martial arts, not only in the UFC, but here on the Bloody Water podcast. Winner of this week will be the lead man. It is November 10th as of our recording, brother. We got a month and 3 weeks, and then this thing is over, and then somebody gets to take home that shiny, beautiful little thing right there. Oh, so I want to put it behind me so bad, but it's all right. We're going to leave it down and, listen, may the best man win. That's all we got for you this week's, folks. We're going to keep it short and sweet, even though this was about an hour, but we gave you everything. We had some fun. You know what time it is. AJ, any last words, or let's get up out of here?
Nah, let's get up out of here, Derek. Let's do it.
All right, folks. Until next time, that's it for us. Peace.